All right, y'all, we are live. Another episode of Everything Construction here on LinkedIn and YouTube. Today, I have the honor of having my buddy Bradley Henderson here with me today out of his mobile office in his truck. How you doing?
I'm doing great, doing great. Just had to do a lot of extra work, but everything's good. Life's good right
That's
now.
construction, right?
And you better believe it. It is.
Something's always coming up, and we're always having meetings out of our truck, even if it's something like this. So I do appreciate you taking the time, even though it's been a busy and hectic Friday and you've had some unexpected things come up. But I thank you for, making the time and not canceling on me on this live stream. I'm
Yeah,
sure
for
the folks
sure.
appreciate you too. I know people love me, but they don't want to sit here and watch me talking to myself on the screen. So thank you
Yeah,
for
no
for,
problem.
for joining us.
I wasn't gonna miss it. I had it's funny because I've been on a couple different podcasts, and every single one of them I've done out of my truck so far. So it's just like, I take pictures in my truck for LinkedIn, and so yeah,
Mhm.
this is my mobile office. This is really where it goes down.
And that is the case, I think, for most people in the construction industry, whether they work full time in the field or they're more of a hybrid role, like myself and you working in operations, where we do a little bit of office stuff and spend a lot of time in the field as well. For the folks who don't know me, guys, my name is Gloria Marie. If it's your first time here, please give us a like, subscribe. The Everything Construction Show is now on 3 seasons, been going for a couple of years. And we are just here to showcase different careers in the construction industry, have conversations about what's going on in the construction industry. I am a GC by trade and the owner of Glow Joy Co. Bradley, why don't you tell the folks who you are and what you do?
So yeah, I'm Brad Henderson, and I'm an operations manager for a mechanical contractor here on the Gulf Coast. We specialize in the commercial sector, so I run operations there, and I founded, um, I guess you would call it a kind of a consulting firm centered around operational execution. So we come into businesses and we try to find out where the leaks are, plug them, and then draw them up a roadmap and help them move forward and actually embed ourselves in the business to drive operations for them. So we got that. And one more little thing, I'm trying to get focused on second chance work efforts
Mhm.
to bridge the labor gap. Like I want to do my part, I want to make an impact, and I think that's where I'll be able to serve the fit. So that's me.
So the plumb line is you're almost like a fractional COO for these companies in a sense, correct?
Right, that's what I'm trying to. Yes, that's what I'm trying to deliver. Correct.
Yeah, that's what the white collar folks call it here on LinkedIn. So I just wanted to
The
clarify.
fractional. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Fractional
Yeah,
COO.
right. Going in there and just driving, operations and making sure the operators either know how to operate or it's streamlined to the best of the ability of the company. So, yeah, Brad,
And,
you call whatever you want.
yeah, of course, we can call it whatever we want. But, there are so many companies out there, whether they're here on LinkedIn or they're watching on YouTube or catching a replay that are in the construction industry. I was one of those companies that could use a fractional COO or consultant to come in. We actually had one for our business after we passed the 5-year mark and rebranded. My business partner and I recognized that we couldn't use Google Drive for everything. And we were growing exponentially, maybe not growing in projects, but growing mostly in not growing in people, I'm sorry, but mostly growing in projects. So we're bringing in a lot more like subcontractors and other folks, and decided that we really needed some help to streamline stuff before projects started to fall apart.
Absolutely. Operational execution is the driving force of making the construction company function and work, in my opinion. And I believe if
Yeah.
you got that figured out, you can figure out everything else. But driving operations, like making that machine function and work, takes a lot of effort. And we like to come in there and help people out with that.
Yeah, and not everybody is going to be great with operations, right? I mean, some people like myself are wired to be in the field and, wired to lead people, be a coach. I used to be called Coach Peachy, and I taught fitness classes, and that Coach Peachy has just kind of continued on with me throughout the construction industry because that is what I feel. I feel like I'm out there coaching a baseball team or a football team or a soccer team, right? I don't really feel like I'm more important than the people in the field or that the field folks are more important than I am. We are a team. And
Mhm.
like any other team, you need every single player on the team and knowing when they need to pass and when it's their time and their role to shine and so on and so forth. You need people who are going to save other people. I mean, there's so many different roles, and I always use sports analogies, not because I'm a sports nut, but because realistically that's what it takes to build a building, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly what it takes. And I'm partial to the field because that's where I come from. But
Right.
the element that I like to focus on is bridging that gap of the office and the field. Like there's a lot of confusion there, and there's a lot of ways that things can go off track and off center, if that bridge is not in place. Because the office doesn't always know how it is in the field. I mean, it's 100 degrees out here. It's sweating. Everybody's hot, miserable, and sometimes we need some information, or they need some information to carry on and move forward. And that's the gap that I've seen, an area that needs some work. So that's where I
For
try to
sure.
focus that and try to bridge that gap, as quickly as possible.
So we've talked a little bit about operational excellence and our backgrounds, but I typically start this live stream off with a universal question to every single one of the guests. So I'd love to pose a question to you as well. Why construction? Meaning, how did you end up in the construction industry? And I don't care if it's a
Okay.
long-winded story, give it to me.
So, I mean, well, I always grew up, kind of in construction,
Hmm.
coming up through high school and helping my uncles out, with their businesses. And then as I
Hmm.
got a little older, I was a, Budweiser driver. And then I got into the mortgage business.
Hmm.
Then the mortgages fell apart. I got arrested, had an opiate addiction, just going downhill quick. But I could always fall back to construction to make some money and move forward. Well, fast forward a little bit, I get in trouble. I finally end up having to go away for a little bit, and I knew that I was going to have to get my situation correct and right. And at that
Hmm.
moment, I made a decision, to change. I stopped with the using pills. I changed my entire life around, and I had to figure out a way that, okay, where am I going to go? What sector of business can I get in that will accept me, one, and then I can
Hmm.
provide for my company, or for my family.
Right.
And that was construction. So I jumped in. I got around people that could help me grow, and somebody took a chance on me. And when they took a chance on me, I haven't looked back. That's pretty much how it all boils down to where I'm at today.
Yeah, and for folks who follow my buddy Jesse and his Depth Builder podcast, you can actually catch Bradley's episode with him there, and I'll post it in the comments where you all talk a little bit more in depth about your background and your addiction. But I do commend you for A, getting clean, and B, still continuing to speak about it without shame, because I do believe, and you all touched on this quite a bit in this podcast, Jesse being 10 years sober now as well. And there's so many people in this industry that struggle with addiction.
Yeah.
and so many people in this industry that come into the industry because it's one of the very few industries that is going to turn a cheek basically to whoever the heck you were in the past and just focus on who you are right now and what results you can provide right now. So it's one of the reasons that I love construction, right? You know, there's a place for everybody in this industry, and what you did or who you were in the past, like that's your past, bro. And as long as
Yeah.
you don't bring that into the industry with you right now and you're working towards whatever you need to work on to recover or to save yourself or to become a better person, as long as you can do the job and you show up and you do good work, the construction industry is going to give you an opportunity. And, you know, there's not a lot of places that will do that, you know?
No, no, there's not at all. And I mean, you can go. You know, I've never dreamed that I'd be this far along, you know, like this. But if you show up and you commit to it, and then you repeat it every day, and you show up for a period of time, it is amazing what can happen. You know, in a year, 2, 3 years down the road, there's no
Absolutely.
telling where you can be. So, yeah, it served me well. This is where I'm going to end up. You know, I've got a bunch of different things going on, and now that LinkedIn's starting to hit for me, I mean, doors are open left and right, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I was actually speaking to one of the LinkedIn connections. Yesterday, I went to an event in South Florida that was geared towards contractors and subcontractors, many of the larger primes that we're all familiar with that kind of give everybody else the big jobs, the big multifamily hotel, you know, government jobs, etc. And we were talking about the power of LinkedIn. And I had another friend and colleague there, and she had mentioned that, you know, she doesn't even log on LinkedIn, and, you know, she doesn't use it and she doesn't really care for the platform. And she was going on and on and on about how LinkedIn was not valuable for her. And
Mm,
I explained to her that over 50% of my book of business and my leads come from LinkedIn and one other platform. So I'm only on 2 social media platforms.
right.
And out of all of the connections that I have, which is truthfully not many, I think I have like 10,000 connections across all platforms, right?
Hmm.
But out of the connections that I have, all of my business is either coming from a connection on LinkedIn or this other platform, or it's coming from somebody they know that knows somebody that's already heard about me or knows about me. And building my brand on this platform, very similar to how you've built a brand with your notebook, and everybody knows and looks for your posts in your car and your notebook, you know. Folks just know the brand. So my interior designer from New York was at an event in Canada,
Hmm.
and she got into a conversation with somebody. They connected on LinkedIn, and she was like, "Oh wow, how do you know Gloria?" I mean,
It's
seriously?
crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And these are people that I had networked with years ago. And she went on and proceeded to say, "Oh yeah, she was going on and on about how you were so great and how you'd helped her with her business and all these different things." And you know, I see the platforms as another playground, another networking room, another opportunity to meet people within the same industry or construction adjacent industries that can introduce me to other people. Do I have a need for a mechanical contractor right now in the Gulf Coast? No. Have I ever needed a mechanical contractor in the Gulf Coast? Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I may not even work on the same type of projects that you do, but I know other people who may need somebody like you, or may need help with their operations. And, you may know people in New York or wherever else where they might need assistance with construction project management. So it's not a what can you do for me directly, or what can I do for you, directly, in a give and take and tit for tat. Sometimes, a lot of times, these relationships, I mean, I don't even do business with half the people that I interact with or connect with or take the time to meet. It's
Mhm.
just networking.
Yeah, for sure. I've met so many people through LinkedIn. It's just very, very. I like it because I mean they're people that I knew of before I really got focused on the platform. Like for instance, Max Story. Are you familiar? You're familiar with him, right? The blue collar leadership guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a huge deal in our arena. And I just reached out to him, and next thing you know, I'm having lunch with him. And then another guy who I really respect, uh, that's in my industry, and he's like a pillar of the community, and everybody knows about him. And I saw him on LinkedIn, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to send him a message. Before you know it, he and I are connected. Now we talk every week, and
Right.
it's just really cool to be connected with people like that and see that they're human beings too, and they're willing to help out. And I mean, he's been there for me answering questions that people pay thousands of dollars for. Both of them have, and
For sure.
I utilize LinkedIn just to grow my efforts to meet people, to get around folks that I want to be like, and it's served me really well. That's a fact. I'm very grateful for LinkedIn.
I am as well. And, I posted earlier this morning, and I know this sounds like, an advert at this point for the LinkedIn platform.
Hmm.
But really, I encourage people to find whatever platform works best for you, and whatever it is that you do, whether it's a service-based industry, or you have a product that you sell, or a little bit of a combination of both. There is a platform out there for everybody, right? And this may not be the platform for you. It might be another platform, but the platforms are very, very useful in having a much wider reach than just your local area, right? I live in South Florida. I actually live in a relatively small town in Palm Beach County, and so I am pretty limited to my neighbors and whatever 5 or 6 business owners are within this area, and the paint store, right? If I were not to go out and network and really put myself out there on social media platforms and reach out to people, like you said, via direct message or commenting on their posts, which is how you and I got connected. I was
Hmm.
commenting on your posts and vice versa. Then I would have a pretty narrow and small network of people that I could collaborate with and work with, and here I am traveling across the United States, mostly the East Coast, working on many different projects with different brands. I most recently worked with Emser Tile and Stone, which is a tile and stone distributor on the supply side of the business. I am working right now and partnered as a collaborator and ambassador with Ariat Work and Crew Collab, and so many different other organizations, whether now or in the past. And all of that came from social media. I mean,
Yeah.
Builder Trend is in Omaha, Nebraska. I was an
Right.
ambassador with Builder Trend for 2 years. I've been to Omaha. When people ask me, how on earth did you end up in Omaha? I'm like, the internet, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, it's crazy. If
Yeah.
if if they if somebody's out there and owns a business and is not on social media or LinkedIn, I mean, I think they are absolutely missing the mark. There's
Right.
so much. I mean, just like education. There's people. There's networking. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's like a necessity for me. So I'll
Right.
never move it. I don't think that it's been too good in a short amount of time, and I can only imagine if I would have. I wish I would have started sooner. That's all I can really say. You know.
Yeah, I've been on the platform since its inception, really. I've had the same Gmail account since Gmail started Gmail.
Right.
I recently got a new email address because I got married and changed my last name. So I
Okay.
finally got a new email address. But, you know, I believe in the power of the internet and have believed in the power of the internet for a very, very long time. I think
It's
whether
powerful.
people own businesses or not, my last guest on this uh, live stream was actually a former colleague at Emser Tile and Stone. And, his book of business obviously comes from his local network, but also from the platforms. So even if you're growing a business within a business, like I was, and he is, and others, it is really, really important to be on these social media streets,
For sure.
and
For
be
sure.
active. Like, don't, what did they say? Like, you post and then you like ghost. You can't just post and disappear. You have to post and then you have to stay on the platform and engage with people who are engaging with your posts, or
Yeah.
engage with other people's posts.
I
One of the
found
things that
that.
I do in the morning is I like to comment on other people's posts. I post around lunchtime usually because
Right.
but I take 20 minutes or so to go in and see, all right, what did Bradley post? What did Josh post? What did this person post? And I've got my people, right? Because I know that you guys are always going to post something that's interesting and of value. So I want to talk a little bit about your posts and how you came up with this, strategy, because you have a very unique way of posting with your notebook and you handwrite these things. And I have seen other people who do it as well. I don't know if it's something that you started off or that other people, started off
Yeah.
and you kind of picked up, but you do have, your own brand style. So I know to look for that photo of you with your notebook in your truck if
Yeah.
I'm looking for your posts.
That's for sure. So I mean, it started with me simply calling myself out, trying to hold myself accountable, and I wrote like a little blurb to me, from me, is how it started, and yeah, so that happened. But I actually, I got the idea from uh, Ben Owen, the We
Okay.
Fight Monsters guy. He always holds up some sort of a motivational, or you know some touching kind of sign,
Yep.
trying to do good, and so I was trying to utilize that aspect of it to call myself out, hold myself accountable, to own whatever mistake that I was happening right then. And man, when I did that, the first one I did, it just like took off.
Right.
Um, and then so I got consistent with it. I was posting, but nothing like this, and I kind of found my area, and now I just pick some topics, go over some topics, look at it for the week. Like, it's a part of my weekly schedule now.
And for folks who don't follow you, maybe they're not on LinkedIn
Mm.
and, not really didn't even know that we have like a whole construction community on the platform.
Yeah.
What do you typically post about?
Just operational execution stuff, so accountability and ownership, and just my thoughts. Like, the last post that I just talked about was tenure, not being leadership. A lot of people try to say, oh, well, I've been here 20 years. Well, that really doesn't matter. Uh, where are you at as far as leading the company? Are we pulling the company forward, or are you kind of sitting on your butt, dragging the company down? Um, that's where I'm at. Some kind of operational spin on something, or leadership is where I'm going to fall, usually in my post.
Yeah, and your posts are geared more towards the actual leaders, not the people doing the work, if
Well, I
I'm
try to
reading them
close the
correctly.
gap. I try to close the gap from the field to the office, so that the stuff that the people are thinking and maybe might not say to a leadership position, I try to bring up. I'll try to say the things that people are thinking and haven't said yet. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and yes, and I actually want to talk about that, right? As a part of
Okay.
this conversation. I mean, there are going to be a lot of leaders that watch this and or catch a replay, and so there are things that people just don't know because they don't know or they don't
Mhm.
really stop to think about it, and so I know what I see a lot of in the field, but what is the number one communication gap that you see between the field and leadership?
It's to me it's the number one thing that I go back to all the time is going to be the handoff from estimation to project management to the field. That gap right there, those jumps are so vital and very important. Like true ownership needs to happen at that point. Like, and also it needs to also look like the flow. Like when you're coming in from estimation, that handoff, you open a gate, you go in, the gate shuts. You do the handoff meeting, take ownership of the file of the project, sign off on it. A gate opens to let you through. That's how it needs to be thought of, in my opinion. And then you're traveling right on your road to get the project completed to the field. Meet with your superintendents, not and you bring your foreman in there and go over exactly what's going on, what you have, what's the schedule looking like, budgets, just everything.
A
Whole handoff.
handoff meeting, what is that? I mean, most companies don't even have a handoff meeting.
Well,
There's
they
a
need to.
packet. I remember when I was an assistant project manager, there was a packet that the office would give us. It had a copy of the contract with no numbers, just a copy of the contract, which had the scope of work and the contract terms.
Right.
And then we had a copy of the plans, right? And then any technical sheets, which half of them were incomplete, you
Hmm.
know, and that's what we were handed off as the project management team. As the assistant
Yeah.
project manager, I think most of my work was just chasing all the holes, right? Because the project manager was too busy running the project. So I had to fill the gaps and call the supplier and be like, hey, I need a submittal for these light fixtures, or, I need a submittal for the RTU or whatever it was, right? It was always submittals for the MEPs that were missing. And a handoff meeting, honest to God, would have been great, because maybe during the handoff meeting, they would have said, hey, this is what we have for you. Um, Here's a checklist of maybe items
That's
pending or
right.
missing, or
That's
you may
right.
need to create a checklist of items pending or missing. And then the estimating team or the procurement team can help you out with this. But it wasn't until I started my own company that I learned about handoff meetings. And it was something that I implemented myself, because it made no sense to me that there was no communication between these different people. Then the
Right.
site super also called himself a project manager. And I thought that was weird, because yes, you're a project manager in a sense, but you're really the site supervisor. They're two totally different roles.
No, I mean, he's running the field. I just, bringing them all together and making them take total ownership of the actual, estimation. It's leaving. This guy owns it, and this guy owns it, and the flow is just so important. I mean, your budgets, your material. Like I've watched companies buy material twice for the same job. I've watched companies go over budget on man hours by hundreds and hundreds of hours. Like it, but if you don't know it up front, you're not going to think about it, so it's not there. But if it is forefront on your mind, you're all okay. I got 30 hours to do this. Then you plan it out, you get it done, and you can walk a project back. So
Yeah.
it's the most important thing for me. The
Okay.
hand of me, like that. That's what I drive home in every company that I've been in so far to try to help them with operations, and that's the box I stay in. Man, they're just loose or weak or not there, on a handoff meeting.
So Before the handoff meeting, though, and I've worked at several companies before I founded my own business and have
Mhm.
worked with many different brands as well in recent years, where I'm not really in charge of operations. I'm more of a brand ambassador or business development person trying to drive new business. But what
Mhm.
I have learned is that oftentimes, whether it's on the GC side, subcontractor side, or even on the supply side, many folks on the front lines that are selling the jobs really don't have that experience in the field or hands on, or haven't really ever been on a job site to understand what something takes, right? For example, when I very first started my business, the designer I was talking about, that worked with us quite a bit, I made her go to the field and work with the drywallers, the painters, and the tile people. And it was so that she could understand not just how to specify product. And Natalie, shout out to you for being a good sport and actually doing this, but also what it took to prep a wall. What it took to prep spaces for tile or wallpaper, etc., and really be able to help the estimating team put enough hours so that we wouldn't bleed money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the issue I have found a lot of times is if I'm not doing the estimates myself, right? Or if I am not overlooking with a microscope and I'm not there yet, again, but, then things get missed and we don't put enough hours for a job to actually be completed. And I love you boys. I really do. You're all my homies and my brothers. But every time you tell me it's going to take a couple hours, I need to add like 2 more days because y'all have no clue how long it takes to do anything. Ask the electrician how long it's going to take to do, 3 things, and he'll be like, yeah, it's 2 hours tops. BS. He was there the whole day.
For sure. Yeah. Time will really fly by and get away from you if you let it. I mean, it's. I don't know where 20 years went. So yes, time's going to fly by, and you probably got more than one person on the job, so you can just. I mean, it those hours go quick.
Yeah, so I mean, I shared that because I do think it's important. I have field and hands-on experience, and while I no longer work in the field and I'm not really on tools, I myself took the time to learn the trades that we were, managing in-house, and the crews that we had in-house, we subcontracted, I want to say like 80% of our work. And at this point, I'm doing construction management and consulting as an owner rep, so I'm contracting everything. But at the time where we were self-performing work, there was about 20% of the trades, and they were always the finished trades where I could manage most of the quality, that we had in-house. And there was no job that I took that I couldn't go in and finish myself if somebody, you know, got sick or called in or whatever. Because otherwise, you start to bleed money. And if you think people aren't going to call in sick, in the construction industry, they call in sick all the time. Or
Yeah.
my baby mama needs a ride, or, whatever.
Yeah,
Like
I've heard
there's
it all.
always, yeah, there's always something. And if you need 4 people to do a job, and you only got 3 or 2.5, then somebody has to go in and fill in. And
Yeah.
so there have to be people on the team that are definitely willing to do that.
I'm doing that today. As a matter of fact, I was at that
I
job.
know.
Yeah, I got a trailer loaded down, slap full of ductwork. That's got to go to a job. So yeah. We all got to do our parts. We got to show up, and we got to know how many hours is on the job to make sure we don't do them for free, or actually pay the general contractor to do work. We don't want to do that either.
No, we
So
don't
yes,
want to do that either, for sure, for sure.
yeah.
And I've done plenty of that in my
I think we
early
all have.
years for sure,
Yeah.
and learned my lessons, which is why I made sure there was nothing that I ever contracted out that I couldn't do myself or figure out myself.
Right.
Because if there is one thing in this world that I really, really hate is losing money or throwing
For
money down
sure.
the
For
drain.
sure. But if you that's why to me the handoff is so important. I mean at that point, you can pass off the ownership, and then you can hold the person accountable if it need be. It can hold themselves accountable at that point.
Yeah.
Because it was clear, we understood what we were doing, we know what we're trying to do. There's a timeline, and then there's a budget and a schedule, and it's shifted. At that point, the plan's in motion, and that's when you can go execute because you're clear on everything. And I think that needs to be paramount when kicking a project off.
Yeah, and I'll ruffle a lot of feathers of people because, most folks do not consider the people who are running the office or running these hybrid roles in project management, site supervision, foreman, or even the estimating team. They don't consider them as a part of the construction industry called the office. And then the field is the only thing that's considered part of the construction industry or counts. You're not in construction unless you pick up a tool. And that could be furthest from the truth.
Yeah, way.
What are
Yeah,
your thoughts on that?
it definitely is. The office, they're there to support the field, and I think the field's there to support the office when that's needed as well. I mean, like you said, but we're one unit moving together, but there needs to be a bridge there, so there's an open line of communication, so that that conduit is there, just for information to be able to flow. I see it as a team, and we need to grow together and move together in unison as one group conscious to the goal. And I mean, the office is just as important as the field. The field is just as important as the office. It's a company. It's all one. So, it needs to be respect on both ends.
Yeah, for sure. And back to my team analogy, there's a team owner who's sitting somewhere in a box, and there's the team coach and team doctors and all these different people who, maintain the fields and the facilities where the teams train and come and play. And, recently we had the World Cup, and you would see them watering the grass every time there was a hydration break, right? Without all of those people, the teams in the field wouldn't be able to do any of the things that they're doing,
For sure. And
Yes.
I like the office to know what kind of work and what the field is actually doing, and vice versa. I think the guys in the field, they need to see the motions and what goes on behind the scenes in the office. Because man, there's been many a nights that I've stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning trying to make sure schedules are lined out, trying to make sure budgets are in place, trying to make sure all of my orders are in place. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just going out there and building a building. There's a lot of planning on it. There's a lot of execution on it, and it takes a team to come together and move forward through that. And it's very helpful that both of them know what their roles are, and it's clear. They know who to call. They know what to do. Like, there needs to be an open line between the field and the office.
Yeah, and I strive to be that open line between the field and the office. That is literally my sole role. And as an owner rep, I also work directly with the owners, because most people don't even want to work with owners, especially large property owners, developers, and the folks that are funding the deal, so the banks. And so I'm that liaison between all the people, and my goal is to keep that line of communication open to bridge that gap and that break in communication, not, oh, it's check Procore, or this person didn't do this, or it's on the plans. And yeah, I mean, all these things are true, but at the same time, the field may not have had said handoff meeting where they were told where on the plans, or where in the project binder they could find X, Y, and Z. They're running around. All they want is whatever information they need so they can continue to do their job, and having that empathy for those people, rather than saying, no, go find it, it was on the project management system, or we went over this 3 weeks ago, is absolutely absurd. No different than the field complaining about, oh, well, we don't have our ductwork on site because so-and-so, screwed this and this up and whatever. So we're just going to sit here with our hands crossed. And here comes a Bradley saying, no, you know what? I'm on my way from wherever, and that's on the way. And I'm going to go pick up the ductwork and drop it off so that the weekend team or whoever has the materials they need to on site to get this job done. But oftentimes this is what our field and our offices do. There's a lot of, it was her fault, it was his fault, it was this person, the engineer didn't do this and that. And driving solutions is really what we should be doing as a team.
Absolutely. I'm so huge on that. Ownership's a real big deal to me, and I like to make it clear on ownership. If it's me that kind of dropped the ball or messed something up, I'm going to own it, and people on my team are going to own it if it's their issue. Ownership allows me to see where I'm at, where I messed up. Let's face it, we're humans. I'm a human. I'm going to make mistakes every day, probably all day. But there are a few things that I'm going to get right. But the things that I don't get right, that I do get wrong, I want to be able to go back and examine that to see how I can do better next time. So, ownership's big to me. I like to get in a rotation where we can continue to do things over and over again, and it allows me to get better. When you do,
and I think that's a excellent attitude to have, honestly, whether you're in the construction industry or not, and you're just a business owner that happened to come across this live stream. Taking ownership as, a leader is really important, because that's what really drives the energy of your company, the energy of your projects, and everybody around you. So I know that we're running up on time, and I know you have ductwork to drop off. So I want to be respectful of your time.
Sure.
Just want to ask one last question for you.
Yeah.
And if people find themselves in a position, maybe they're a business owner, maybe they're an operations manager in a business, for your consulting company where you come in and help people clean up their back office, streamline their operations. And, I know you were recently in New York working with a company doing this. What, I guess, is the sweet spot? What type of companies are you looking to engage with or work with?
Any kind of company in construction. I mean, if you've got operations, that's where my focus is going to be. Usually I try to stay focused at MEP companies, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. $1 to $20 million is kind of like the sweet spot. But yeah, they can. That's the area of focus for me.
And for MEP, $1 to $20 million could literally be your first 2 years in business. Okay. And if you are not making $1 million within your first 2 years in business as an MEP contractor, please give me a call. And let's have a conversation, because there is such a shortage for MEPs. There is clearly something you're doing wrong. And whatever that little tiny thing, it's probably something minuscule. I would love to help you figure that out. But also understand that you cannot grow and you cannot scale without having good operations and having good systems. And more importantly, having a business that can run without you. This is a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. And, when I moved to South Florida and I relocated and started spreading myself too thin, projects just, started to fall apart little by little. And I recognized and realized at the time that I needed to scale back and figure out what holes needed to be plugged to where if I wasn't around, these projects could continue to run smoothly, run just as efficiently, and just as quickly as they were running when I was around.
Yeah, it sounded like you catch a little. You had some projects drift.
I,
Well, we all have. I have to.
yeah, we all have. We all have. I mean, it is no secret that the operational excellence behind Glowjoy was my former partner, Tamara Joy.
Yeah.
She passed away this last
Awful.
March. She was very, very ill. And because she was very ill and I really didn't want to grow the business at the time, I was burnt out. I was doing my job and her job.
Yeah.
And I, honest to God, was just not good at her job.
Right. Right.
I wasn't. I mean, she was an all-star and she set up some amazing systems. And it took me a really long time to figure out her brain and how those systems worked and, how we could improve on a lot of those systems. But it wasn't for lack of systems or lack of people to do the work. It was because I never took the time to learn the systems and then try to do her job and my job. Then I hired people to do this work and we never trained them properly. So, without the proper training and without, the right leadership behind that, things started to crumble and fall apart. And yeah, could I get on a plane and go to New York and handle what needed to be handled? At that point, I was a fire extinguisher, though. I was not running.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I've got a question. What do you think that, like, say that's happening? Say you have a company that's going in there and they're drifting everywhere. They're doing a bunch of revenue, but they're not making any money. They're bleeding. When a company is doing that, what's the first thing you think they should do? What do you think? What would you?
Pause. Full stop. We stopped taking on new projects. Yeah. Finished the projects that we had. Okay. Finished the projects that we had. Did a lot of, I guess, postmortems, as they call them, post the project. So meetings with the clients, meetings with the architects, the engineers, everybody who was really involved from a leadership position, including people in the field, and just asking them, what could we have done better on this project? And just taking full inventory of what we did. More importantly, I just took ownership, right? Took ownership of the fact that I didn't know what I didn't know. Tamara was really the operational excellence queen and my secret weapon. And she always wanted to be behind the scenes. It wasn't until we switched to the name Glowjoy that people even knew that she existed,
What a great name. That's a good name.
Thank you. She came up with it. She was really good with words. So it's part of my first name and her middle name was Joy. Right. And so we put that together and it's, it's a beautiful brand. It's a beautiful company. We have scaled back quite a bit over the past 18 months, particularly the past 6 months. I mean, and my goal is to do things right moving forward. So now having taken the time, doing a full stop and saying, okay, we finished these projects. We didn't take on new projects. We fired clients also that were not for us. And I think a lot of people don't do that. There were clients who we took on that we should have never taken on.
Yeah, no, I get
And
it. There's so many companies out there like that. I mean,
and so just recognizing that and saying, hey guys, this is not a fit. I'm going to refer you to XYZ company. I think they might be a better fit for you, and move on.
Yeah, no doubt. If a company is leaking money like that, and I've seen it, like every company I've worked with so far, that is let me inside their business. You look inside it, and they need to absolutely just pause, take a breath, and then find baselines, and then go forward. But definitely pause. Don't be taking on new work, for sure. See what you got going on.
Pretty blessed that our margins were so good that even though I was losing money and bleeding money, I didn't get myself in a negative.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But at the same time, there were so many things that we could have done better, and we were using top of the line project management software, which I attribute to the fact that we were not losing money, because all of the budgets were in there. You could see like a daily P&L for all the construction projects. So there was no secret of where the money was going, whether it was going to labor or whether it was going to material that needed to be ordered twice or extra delivery fees because we didn't order enough materials. It's just nobody was watching it.
Right. Well, at least.
And by watching it, I mean like closely watching it.
Yeah, for sure. You need to be on top of that all the time. I've seen companies that do it on the back of an envelope. I mean, $20 million worth of revenue on the back of an envelope and a text fee. It blows my mind. And I hope that, all they got to do is just get some structure and pause for a minute, take some deep breaths, and my gosh, it can get turned around so quickly.
And listen, I've got plenty of envelopes with notes. I take photos of them and I email them to myself. And then I send those same photos of the notes to whoever I need to send them to enter them into the project management system. But, been there, done that. Shoebox full of receipts. I mean, that was my accounting system when I was a real estate agent, because it was just me. And Tamara was with me when I was a real estate agent. That was the first thing she did. She took my shoebox and said, I'm going to throw this thing away.
Did you enjoy being a real estate agent?
No, not at all.
No, not at all? Okay. I didn't know if there was like, we're doing building in addition to selling it.
No, I started off as a real estate agent. I got into construction much later in my career, actually, and it was because I wanted to get into investing and that whole fix and flip world that was really, really popular about a decade ago. I wasn't really good at that either, but I also learned at that time that I could GC my own projects and pull my own permits, and that's really where I got into the nitty-gritty of construction and just fell in love and ended up moving to New York, working with a couple different companies. Somebody gave me a shot, then another person gave me a shot. Had a background working at a construction law firm, so the construction industry kind of adopted me rather quickly. They're like, oh, she can read construction contracts, she kind of understands the process, and had family who'd been in construction. So like I said, they gave me a shot. It's not like I went to school for construction management or have all sorts of fancy pieces of paper and whatever hanging on my wall behind me. And a lot of this is self-taught and taught from a lot of really great mentors in the field. And, for the ladies that watch this podcast and this show, I will say that, I know there's a lot of DEI and equity and inclusion crap that's going on out there still, even in 2026, even though that is so 6 years ago. But I encourage you to befriend the old grandpa on the job site. You're going to learn more from old grandpa on the job site than you're going to learn from anybody else. We need men in the construction industry just as much as we need women in the construction industry. Nobody is more important or better than others. Everybody has their roles. Women have their strengths, men have their strengths. When we come together, we are great. And if you don't believe me, please read the Bible. And it's a part of natural evolution and who we are. So we all need to work together. But my best mentors were people who are my dad's age, if not older, who took me under their wing and taught me everything they knew, and I absorbed it like a sponge and still do to this day. I've got some awesome mentors here in South Florida, and I love them dearly, and I don't think I would be able to do anything without them.
Yeah, I definitely would. That's a fact. I lean on mentors very hard these days, and I'm talking about the mentors that'll look you in the eye and tell you some good, hard truth, some shit some stuff that you don't want to hear. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the people I try to intentionally place myself around, and for the past couple of years, I've done a pretty good job of doing that. I'm proud of myself in that arena.
Same, and I strive to be that mentor too. If you're looking for a soft mentor, that's not going to be me. I'm going to tell you when you F up. I'm going to tell you when you need to man up. I'm going to tell you
people need to know that.
all the things that you need to hear to grow and evolve. And if you want someone soft, then don't come to me.
No, but don't want that. They can't. They don't even put that in their train. Yeah, they need that. A person, like, if you have, a booger in your nose or something like that, and you've got a friend that won't tell you that because he's fearful of
they're not
whatever.
Your friend.
No, dude. Like, come on, let them know what's going on. Anyhow, that's just how I think. I had a guy that I'm super close to. He told me that you might not want to hear this, Brad, but here's how it is. And I was like, David, that's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to tell me exactly what it is. Don't worry about my feelings. I will get over it. My ego may get in the way a little bit of it, but if I got need to get better a certain way, hit me straight with it. And from that day, he is he's brutal. But I need it.
For sure. No, I wholeheartedly agree. And if folks are looking for a soft mentor or a soft industry, this may not be the place for you. You may want to go work in a tech office that has ping pong and golf putties and whatever for you to have your little breaks on. And no shade on those industries, but that's just not how this industry works. You might have something chucked at you. You may be cussed at here and there, and there's definitely a lot of respect within the people in the industry, and you should never be disrespected, whether you're in the field or in an office. Doesn't matter your age, your gender, your race, like none of that. But at the same time, there's going to be a little bit of hazing in this industry, and to me, that's a good thing. It just toughens people up, and it gets them ready for the real world.
Yeah, it's definitely real out here. That's the truth. That this industry's been great to me, and I think it's got a bright future for me. And I'm just looking forward to the future. Things are great.
Yeah, things are amazing. So let's get your ductwork delivered. How can people find you, Bradley?
So they can find me LinkedIn, Bradley Henderson. My website is plumlineops.com, plumlineops.com, Bradley@plumlineops.com is my email. But text me, message me on LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. If you want to get a hold of me, send me a connection. Let's talk. And I appreciate you, having me on your little your podcast and rapping with me a little bit. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks can find me on all platforms. I am at the Gloria Marie on all platforms. You can find this show on YouTube as everything.construction, but it's also under my name. So, yeah, I thank everybody for watching till the end or catching the replay. If you're catching the replay, I thank you for your time, Bradley, here on a Friday. And yeah, let's give everybody the rest of their afternoon back so we can close out this work day and enjoy the weekend. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Have a good weekend.
All right.
See you,
Cheers.
Gloria.
All right.